There's a little mahogany girl kneeling in a playground sandbox, and she's playing in the sand because kids like to play in the sand, right? But upon further inspection, it's clear that that isn't what she's doing at all. And if she is playing, it's a game no child should ever want to play. Her sun-kissed chocolate skin is a shameful stain, and vigorously she's using that sand to scrub away the color that's causing her so much pain. I want my skin to be pretty, her soft, innocent voice explains. It's too dark. 1,000 miles away in another state, the trees disappear through cement sidewalks and buildings that scrape the sky. A 9-year-old contemplates what she wants for her birthday. And her mother is surprised when she hears the word her child finally utters after much thought. Soap. Not because she has a fascination with scents or cleanliness or dreams of a tub full of bubbles. She wants that soap to wash away her dark troubles. These young girls don't believe that they're beautiful. Their skin is a source of shame, and they've been convinced that their skin diminishes their self-worth. It's a recurring theme, and somewhere along the way, the world has managed to convince these children, myself and you all included, of this lie. To have a child believe in the myth of the ugly dark skin is a deplorable injustice by society. This injustice, this monster, is called colorism. The word colorism is a euphemism to me for prejudice based on skin color. That word conjures images of rainbows and happiness, but there's nothing joyful about something that causes beauty to become shame, that bows head, sad shoulders, kills dreams, and in many cases it dictates your housing options and salaries. In many cases it dictates your desirability. Sometimes it dictates whether you live or die. How you're treated, how you treat yourself, how others value you, and how you value yourself. According to the Association of Black Psychologists, colorism is one expression of internalized racism. African racist stereotypes and attitudes, these tend to be adopted as truths and believed by those on the receiving end of the lie. A heavy price is paid by all members of the community, and colorism is a persistent problem for people of color in the country and around the world. Margaret Hunter says that the process of colorism privileges lighter skin complexions of people of color over darker complexions in areas like income, education, housing, the marriage market. Colorism can be divisive in a race, community, family, and friends. This monster isn't under the bed. It's everywhere. Its tentacles reach across geography and extend to different races and regions and seems to spare no one. And it doesn't just prey on darker girls. There was one moment in my life where I felt like an anomaly. I wasn't light enough for the lighter, mixed girls with the straight or loosely curled hair, and on the same token, I wasn't dark enough for the darker girls with kinky hair. I cried at night for a very long time, wishing to be darker and look more like my peers and my family. It's a paradox that many continue to live with. Experiencing institutionalized racism but not being able to participate in the conversations about it because my experiences were watered down by my light-skin privilege. It was like complaining about being soaking wet while others were drowning. I felt that my discomfort couldn't be empathized with by my darker sisters because I couldn't relate. Because they were experiencing the same racism as me, but also the brutal hint of colorism. Do you want to know something ironic? At first, I didn't want to discuss colorism at all because I felt that my perspective would be judged for its authenticity. Is it authentic enough to speak about this as a lighter-skinned person? If I spoke about the pain that my darker sisters felt, would it seem like I couldn't relate or that I had no business even talking about it? If so, that's a shame because colorism affects us all. So who are the victims here? Are they also the lighter-skinned people? Or are they also the white people? This preoccupation with color and all these biases that we have are ingrained and taught so early that the perpetuators are often victims themselves. They didn't choose this path. We're born into this world seeing that lighter is the norm everywhere, no matter where you go. And this color complex is translated around the world, in part from American media images, and helps sustain the multi-billion-dollar skin bleaching and cosmetic surgery industries. Now, as you well know, we are social creatures. Did you know that we can get over and manage all psychological irritants except for social exclusion? To me, that is so powerful, so I'm going to say that again. We can manage and get over all psychological irritants except for social exclusion. This means that we can get over depression, loneliness, anxiety, you name it, but social exclusion is the only thing that we can't get over on our own. The only remedy is inclusion. After our basic survival needs like the needs of nourishment and shelter, the need for social inclusion is the strongest need for social motivation. Social exclusion can cause greater anger, lower self-esteem, inability to reason well, depression and anxiety, self-defeating perceptions and behaviors, withdrawal, and even self-harm. Now, I want you all to think about 3 darker-skinned women that are beautiful and famous in society today. Can you think of one? Darker-skinned women. And how about except for Lupita Nyong'o? Where are the darker complexions? The darker-skinned women with tightly curled hair in society. That absence in your mind is a reality. Very dark skin is underrepresented if it's represented at all. Around the world, it's underrepresented. The faces of the countries of places like India, the rest of Asia, South and Central America are white. We don't naturally see the Aborigines of Australia or the darker complexions of Latin America and Asia. Beauty doesn't seem to be represented in dark skin form. That's why when Beyonce stands in the field with a group of powerful dark women behind her, it seems to be a problem. When Black girls stand together, it's a problem. When social media platforms and patterns that are specifically dedicated to celebrating darker skin, it seems to be an issue. But why do we have an issue with it? All they're doing is trying to get that social inclusion. Why should we disrupt that need for social inclusion? So what can we do to help? People need to understand and realize that we all have biases, but we also all have that desire for social inclusion. We can change how we think. Embrace the social media platforms and pageants that tell little girls to put down the sand and come as you are, that darker skin can win first place. We can change how we talk. We don't have to be colorblind. We can see all different shades and pigments like caramel, mahogany, tan, pale, dark chocolate. We can employ and hire colorfully and diversify the workplace. Even cosmetic companies. Where are the darker shades? There are a multitude of pigments that aren't being catered to or represented. Now, melanin. You all know what melanin is, but did you know that melanin, which is the pigment that gives skin color and eye color, is produced in cells called melanocytes? These cells, every person, regardless of their race, has about the same number of these cells, but those with darker complexions just have larger cells than those with lighter complexions that produce more pigment. So why have we built racism and colorism on the sides of our cells? So now when we see hashtag Melanin Mondays, Melanin Poppin', Black Girls Rock, Dark Skin Girls Stand Up on social media and other platforms that dark skin girls feel better about themselves and feel appreciated, we shouldn't have a problem with it because they need that representation. So can we take a minute to think about how many people were and still are upset about Beyonce's formation and Kendrick Lamar's already? Many of us were upset believe that being pro-black meant being anti-white and that being pro-dark meant being anti-light. However, that's not the case. Being pro-black is having pride in our own culture. So people need to understand that when you're celebrating who you are, especially when you're compensating for being excluded, it's an important and essential step to being psychologically healthy. Think back to the survival needs that I mentioned before, to our basic needs. People need to feel accepted, respected, and represented in society. So we need to acknowledge our biases, stop striving to be colorblind, love the skin that we're in, and understand everyone's equal and natural need for social inclusion. And as you know, we live in America, the land of opportunities and a melting pot. So if it is the land of opportunities, then we have the opportunity to create a world where a little girl doesn't have to ask for soap so that she can be lighter. A world where a little girl doesn't have to scrub her skin off with sand because she feels ugly. A world where we all, yes, me and you, can love our skin and feel respected. I can love my skin tone and yours too. It's simple, fundamental, and basic. Thank you.